Hello, Skelevaderites, friends of Skelevator, and those of you who are just curious to see what this weekly weirdo thing is all about. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far, which is great. Oz, we got Ostradamus Toys here, counting down to Showtime Fun. Thank you so much for being here. And Duchess of Darkness, great to see you here as usual. Fantastic. So I mentioned in the chat, hello all, who is the weirdo this week? So I'm curious to see if anybody has any guesses as to who the weirdo is going to be based on the hints in the thumbnail. But no problem if no guesses. I kind of kept it cryptic. I always try and keep it a little bit cryptic. So if you got no guesses, that's okay. I'm going to reveal this character, this weirdo, in just a bit. But first, I'd like to say I'm real excited. Today, or this morning, Mark and I recorded another episode of Cambridge and Wishon, and we're very excited to share that with you all. That new episode will not be shared until the beginning of October. As usual, for those of you that are patrons of the Skelevator channel, you'll have early access to the Cambridge and Wishon episode when I make it available about 1 week before it launches, and then it can be commercial free there, and get early access to that. So the first guess, oh, look at, we've got Christina, great to see you. And Eldor, Masterversal Toy Hunter, great to see you. Eldor's guess is ORKO. That's a pretty darn good guess based on the shape in the design there on the thumbnail. I mean, it could be, I was thinking it could also be optic, you know, because they've got some squiggly lines, the circle. There's all kinds of, hey, maybe I'm talking about, I can't think of anything else. Eldor, you're correct. So yeah, it is ORKO, folks. Today's weekly weirdo is ORKO. It's about time. Everybody's favorite silly little guy from the Filmation cartoon. I say that knowing full well that not everybody likes ORKO, and not everybody feels like there needed to be a comic relief, especially considering there was a lot of comedic elements in the Filmation cartoon. And, you know, mixed feelings occur also because, you know, ORKO was created for the cartoon. ORKO didn't exist until the cartoon. So those of us who spent a lot of time with those early mini comics prior to the cartoon might feel like, hey, you know, who is this guy? It doesn't quite fit in. I'm of the opinion, though, that he does, and I've always been a big fan of ORKO. He's weird. He serves as comic relief, but most importantly, he's a little, even though he's silly and you know, and he adds an element to the cartoon as far as the magic goes, and, you know, not being able to handle his magic very well. He's also a bit of a mystery. You know, there's his face is shrouded in shadow, which is super strange and a little usually associated with a scarier character or character of mystery. ORKO is not mysterious at all, except for you can't see his face. All right, we've got Bud, My Buddy's Customs here. Great to see you. Thanos Copter, fantastic to see you here. Yeah, so I'm going to go down the line and talk about the figures that I have of ORKO in my collection, and just talk a little bit about their significance to me. All right, we've got Radical Toys here. Great to see you. Always great to see you. Eric Perryman, always great to see you too. Fantastic to see you all here. And then there's a lot of nice conversation happening between folks here. Thanos, yeah, I know you love ORKO too. And so for those of you out there that do like ORKO, that's awesome. For those of you that do like ORKO, usually it's a deep love for ORKO. And for those of you who don't, it's usually a deep despisal or a hatred, almost borderline hatred. And I understand both perspectives. Yeah, well, man, that's awesome, Thanos. Yeah, so Thanos got, when he became a patron of the channel, he, new patrons get an option for a character of their choice for a painting, a little painting. So I'll make that for you, unique to you, and Thanos picked ORKO. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad he's on your desk. All right, so let me just remove this here. Let's get into it. Now, as usual, I have multiple ORKOs here. I'm gonna go through which one came first in my collection. Now, ORKO, I did have ORKO in my vintage or in my collection when I was a kid. And I really enjoyed him. I rarely used his action feature. I found that the action feature was kind of not so exciting. And hey, speaking moistly, great to see you. And so I had him in my collection. One of the things, well, I'll get to him. I'll get to that one. But of course, as you watch this channel, I haven't had an ORKO. I don't have my original ORKO. So the first one that I purchased was a little while ago, and it's the reaction version of ORKO, which I think is great. He's very simple, and he's actually, in my opinion, the perfect balance between the filmation style ORKO and the vintage action figure ORKO. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. But I really love the reaction version of this character. The face especially, or the lack of face, but the eyes, the very round circle eyes, which is reflective of the circle on his chest. Something that the vintage figure had. We'll come back to the vintage figure in a little bit. But the coloration too is very similar to the vintage figure as well, which is a little bit different from the filmation ORKO. The next one that I purchased for my personal collection didn't happen until, I'd say about 2 years after I got this one. The Origins ORKO came out, and I was really excited about this, the Origins ORKO, for a particular reason. And that reason is that, oddly enough, because none of the other Origins figures were doing this yet, he is very reminiscent of the cartoon. And there was a lot of talk about Mattel not being able to release filmation style figures back then. And not many people talked about ORKO looking just like the cartoon version of ORKO. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I was watching all the videos on YouTube, and not a lot of folks were talking about how he's so reminiscent of the filmation cartoon, and yet we weren't seeing any other figures that were very close to the filmation style. So in fact, I'm wondering when they start releasing the filmation origin style figures coming up here. I'm wondering if they're going to even bother re-releasing an ORKO that looks more like the Filmation cartoon. I don't see that that's possible. This looks very much like the Filmation cartoon. Oh, I like this. All right, so we've got Eldor saying, while I'm still waiting on my vintage figure, I do have the Revelation one, World's Smallest, Dorbs, and the Super 7 vintage mint on card. That's right. One thing that I did get between this one and this one is the Super 7 vintage style one, but that's at my office at work, and I forgot to bring it in, but that's okay. You're all familiar with that. And then Eric is saying, ORKO was part of my first group of Motu toys, Christmas '84. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't get him till a little bit later, but I think I did get him around '84. So yeah, after my first batch. But and then Eldor saying I missed out on the Origins ORKO. And that's too bad that Big Bad Toy Store canceled those. I hope they re-release him in the cartoon line. I do think, folks, that they're going to if they do re-release him, he's going to be the same figure, because I don't know how they can make him more of a Filmation version of the character. Again, sort of unaddressed oddity in the Origins line. At that point, he was Filmation style, and none of the other characters were. We didn't start getting Filmation style characters until later, or Filmation inspired characters. Yeah, 2000X ORKO is pretty great too. Yeah, and the Eternia minis too. Yeah, right there with you, Thanos. Although I don't have those versions. The next one that I purchased, it was the vintage one. So the family and I went to an antique store in Monterey, California. We go to Monterey every once in a while to see the ocean and have a look around. And there's this one antique store there. If you go back in my videos, there's a trip that I shot a short, antique store walkthrough video of that store, and I did end up picking up ORKO, a vintage ORKO. I've been sort of perusing eBay for the vintage ORKO, and he always had a little bit of damage. And seeing this out there in the wild made me excited. He was in excellent condition. He doesn't have the little zip thing to make him spin, but I don't really care about that. He sits on my shelf and he looks beautiful. One thing that, as a kid, when I got this, I was so excited because I had heard a rumor that his hat was removable. All right, we got Aaron Payne's Toy Samples here. Great to see you. Fantastic to have you here. Oh yeah, Radical Toys. Maybe there'll be a clear stand this time. Yeah, with the Filmation release, they'll probably change something. I'm not sure what it'll be. Maybe he'll come with an additional thing. But yeah, maybe he'll come with eggs. He's always dropping eggs on Man at Arm's head. And we got Cobb Webb. Fantastic to have you here, Cobb. Great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. All right. Now, the thing that was a big disappointment, I'm not going to take it off because I don't want to chip the paint, but was a disappointment for me as a kid. Or actually, I don't know if I was hugely disappointed. I was like, of course. You take the hat off and nothing is revealed, right? Because it's just painted black under here. And it's just a little bald, little black, shaped head, dome head. And so you never really got to see what ORKO looked like. And according to Mondo, their ORKO that they're going to be releasing will come with an alternate head based on the artwork that was unveiled, or that was discovered not too long ago. I might have the timeline wrong, but artwork was discovered that showed preliminary drawings of what the face of ORKO would look like if the hat was removed. he's got a cute little blue face. And so I'm really interested to see what the Mondo version of this looks like with that face option, or the head of ORKO without the hat. But I really, of the ORKOs that I have, this is my favorite, of course. That's predictable for me. I'm going to always favor the vintage figures. And this is a particularly special one. Yeah, there's something about ORKO. He brings a certain positivity to the show, an innocence to the show. He's having a hard time because he has to hold on to the secret, Prince Adam's secret, and he's kind of like he's sort of. I don't want to think too deeply about this, but I feel like since he's the fish out of water, he's transported here to Eternia from Trala, and he's kind of like us. Like we are, with Revelation, when the Revelation show came out, because it's newer and because we've all gone through the Masters of the Universe experience. I feel like they did that with Andra. Andra is sort of us, the audience, experiencing this like as if it's new. This experience with the in the universe of Masters of the Universe. But I feel like for the Filmation cartoon, ORKO sort of represented that, the childlike innocence. He was kind of us as kids in this new world. Of course, we would make mistakes, and of course, we would be an integral part of the story. Let's see here. We've got Radical Toys saying, I see the hat color was to match the vintage color scheme, so Filmation ORKO might actually have a red hat. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's true. It's funny, the bright colors for this. It's supposed to match the vintage color scheme, right? But this is, come on, it's pretty far away from that. But I see what they're trying to do. Brighten it up, make it more appealing to the kiddos. That just ends up being appealing to us, right? And let's see. I'm a sucker for ORKO. I'd buy anyone they throw at us. Yeah, it's tough. Are you gonna get the Radical Toys? Are you gonna get the Mondo one? That's gonna be cool. And then Thanos saying probably not the Mondo because the wallet won't let him, and I get it. And yes, it's cool that Lou voiced ORKO. Not sure if it was natural or not. Yeah, so the head of Filmation Studios actually voiced ORKO, if people are not familiar. And so the last one, or the final ORKO that I did end up getting in my collection, is kind of an interesting one. This is something that that I was surprised at when it was announced. Hey, we got HP Brown Sauce Craft. Great to see you here. And yes, Thanos, he did use an effect on his voice. All right, so this one, this is the micro action figure, the one that Eldor was just talking about. And Super Impulse released this along with their other micro figures, and I love it. I think it's fascinating that the other micro figures are based on vintage figures, and this one is definitely based on the Origins figure. I don't know if you can see that. The colors are near exact. The only difference is the purple poof of air underneath ORKO is clear in this one, which might be how they release the Filmation style ORKO. But yeah, it's funny because modern play, retro power, but it's definitely based on the Origins figure. I was when they announced that it was coming, I was secretly hoping he would look more like this, but we ended up getting this, and I'm happy, perfectly happy to have him. In fact, these micro figures are quite beautiful. They're really cool. I don't know if any of you, I don't know if any of you watching right now have been collecting them, but they're pretty. They're awesome. Radical Toys. I might price check the 2000X on eBay. Yeah, do that. Fleabay. Yeah, go check the prices. Maybe he's reasonable these days. Yes, I did, Eldor. I got him. I haven't looked in a while for 2000X. I don't, like I mentioned before, I haven't been a collector of 2000X too much. I have briefly had Merman and Beastman in my collection, but I ended up getting rid of them, which I kind of regret, but not hugely, because I do have a Beastman, that 2000X Beastman that's in the Merman packaging. I've shown that here on this channel before. It's pretty cool. So yeah, folks, ORKO is today's weekly weirdo. He's definitely one of my favorites. I mean, come on. And I love him. There's something really special about him. He's sort of, I feel like, again, he represents us as kids watching the show, and being part of this this adventure that is sort of overwhelming. And none of us would, if placed in Eternia, would be able to handle the situations going on, and he does a real good job of handling them. And there are a couple of great episodes where he ends up being the hero, and I love that. Okay, we got it here. Radical Toys is already searching on eBay. 2000X ORKO is $75 with the VHS tape. But wasn't that cool when the VHS tapes came out with those 2000X figures? Such a great thing. And Speaking Moistly is saying that they have the Evil Lyn, the 2000X Evil Lyn. That's a very cool figure. Very cool figure. Great designs on those figures. 4 horsemen, right? And Eldor is saying the world's smallest. My Origins ORKO. I never managed to get the proper Origins figure. Yeah, it'll come. It'll come your way. Be patient, folks. The time will come. It'll come your way. You'll have a friend somewhere out there in the Masters of the Universe collecting universe that'll be like, I'm getting rid of my Origins figures, and it'll end up in your lap, Eldor. So be patient. Be patient. The figures come our way. And the price is Canadian, though. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Keep an eye out there. You'll find your stuff, folks. And it's awesome. It's awesome. The search is fun. Be patient. So yeah, these are my ORKOs. Again, I do also have the Super 7 one that was based on the Filmation style, but it was also based on the 5.5-inch figures. So he is about this high, and he looks more like the cartoon. And that's a pretty great figure. He's at my office at work. But thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate you being here. For those of you that have stuck around, and I gotta say, I'm always surprised that people even tune into these things. It's just me going through my collection and taking time to talk about the significance of these figures to me. I know everyone has sort of different experiences, and I talk about my experiences with these figures and why they will remain in my collection. And I just want to say also, so Radical Toys, I'm still collecting classics as well, and that the classics ORKO is a beautiful figure. So if you have the classics ORKO in your collection, folks, that is awesome. More power to you. If you're interested in becoming a patron, the information is right down below. If you're interested in the Toy Frenzy sticker, the information is right down below. If you're interested in getting any Toy Frenzy merchandise, the information is right down below in the spring shop. So if you're not familiar, folks, I do co-host a show on Thursday nights called Toy Frenzy with my friends. and it's a lot of fun. I'm looking at everybody in the chat. Everybody in the chat they tune into the Toy Frenzy. But if you happen to be tuning into this channel and you haven't heard of it, then hop back over to the Skelevator channel on Thursday evenings for that. We do have a really great episode coming up. We've got a special guest, Ben Massa, who runs ORKO's Keep over there on Facebook, and he has a really great collection of Masters of the Universe merchandise, primarily like printed merchandise, like games and stuff like that, vintage stuff. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I want to say a big thank you to everybody for being here. And I also want to say, be sure to click like and subscribe, do the YouTube things. I know we got to say that. All that information is right below this video. Hit that alert button so you can get notifications when each episode on this channel drops. And it's great to have you here, and I'll see you